So coming up this weekend, you've got UFC Fight Night Cannonier versus Strickland. It's going to be the last event in the UFC Apex for 2022 and the last event for 2022 for the UFC. And I'm looking forward to it. In my opinion, it's definitely one of the better fight nights we've had all year, especially one of the best events that we've had in the Apex all year. And I've got a special guest on as well. Stand him up. He's got his own YouTube channel, so definitely check him out. He's trying to grow on YouTube, and he does have a pretty popular Instagram page as well. So welcome to the show, Stand Up. Thank you for joining me.
It's my pleasure, brother.
So we're just going to talk about the fights here. So Sergey Morozov versus Journey Newsom is the early prelim, and we're just going to kind of run through the prelims somewhat quickly, and then we're going to talk about the main card. So Sergey Morozov versus Journey Newsom. Personally, I've got Sergey Morozov in this matchup here. I think he's just got more options to win. And what do you think about this fight?
Yeah, I agree. He definitely has more options to win. He's a better wrestler, better grappler, better striker as well. He has faced better levels of competition in the UFC as well. So I am definitely going with Morozov, but he does have a kind of a suspect chin. That's what I'm afraid of. But Journey Newsom isn't the best striker, so I feel like Morozov should win this.
Yeah, that's the thing about Newsom. I feel like if you're picking Newsom, you're hoping that he is going to get a KO. But he hasn't got a KO in the UFC apart from his win over Domingo Pilate, which got overturned. But yeah, I think Sergey Morozov's a pretty safe pick. I am going to be picking him to win by decision. And in the next fight, man, in the... Sorry?
Nah, I want to say that makes sense. No, that's it.
Yeah, so the next fight, man, David Dvorak, I believe is how his name is pronounced, versus Manel Karp. Now, I find it so interesting that Manel Karp is the second prelim of UFC Apex card, because Manel Karp is a guy that when he was signed, he was billed as like one of the next guys, like one of the guys that they're going to build up, and they threw him right in there against Alejandro Pantoja. He failed that test, and then he had a fight against Nicolau, which he probably should have won, and Nicolau's on a really good win streak right now. And then he fought Odo Osborne and Zalga Shumukilov, and he finished them both, and he's kind of proved that he's able to run through that level of competition. And David Dvorak, he's had an interesting UFC career. He's been in the UFC for a few years now, but he hasn't fought super often. He beat Bruno Silva, Espinoza, and then he beat Juan Camilo Ronteros, who took the fight on I think 3 or 4 days notice, but which is why that fight ended up happening. And then he did lose to Nicolau himself. But I like Manel Karp in this one, and then I feel like the odds might be a little bit wide. But what do you think about the fight?
Yeah, I agree that the odds are a bit wide, but I feel like Manel Karp should get this done. He is low volume sometimes, but so is Dvorak of Dvorak. Karp has more power. He's faster, explosive, all that stuff. I feel like he's a better striker. He has good wrestling as well, so he has a few ways to go at this, but I feel like he should get this done. Maybe KO, maybe decision. I am not sure yet. I'll go with the decision here.
Yeah, I like Manel Karp as well. Yeah, as you said, he does have very good defensive wrestling to keep the fight on the feet. He was a very big signing for the UFC when they signed him, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like maybe they threw him in the deep end a little bit when they gave him Alejandro Pantoja, who's going to be probably fighting for a title coming up sometime soon. But yeah, he made a big name for himself at a Ryzen, and then, yeah, just as I kind of said, he's proved that he's able to beat the Ode Osborns and those Zalga Shumakilovs, the unranked guys in the flyweight division. So now he's taking a step back up in competition, and we'll see if he can get back up higher up into the rankings. And I think Manel Karp, man, especially for someone that's on the second prelim of the night, is someone to keep your eye on. But I'm going with Karp decision as well. But if he gets a KO, it could be a very big name booster for him, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and Dvorak, he has been knocked down by Nicolau like once or twice, so a KO might be happening. So
yeah, that is true, actually. So I forgot about that, which is a big reason why I picked Nicolau to win his last fight. Now, Brian Battle taking on Hanat Fakhridinov, and this is a short notice fight. Brian Battle took this fight, I want to say, on 2 or 3 weeks' notice on the top of my head. And Hanat Fakhridinov was preparing for a different opponent. I believe he was preparing for Michael Morales, and I guess you could almost make some sort of comparison to the style that Brian Battle and Hanat are going to bring to the table. So I like Hanat in this matchup here, especially because of the short notice nature of the fight and the fact that Brian Battle has moved down from 185 to 170. So he's got to cut a lot more weight than he used to, and make the weight on short notice as well. I also think that Hanat, personally, I'm interested to see how far he can go, but I was going to be picking Michael Morales to beat Hanat, but I think that Hanat, the way he dealt with Andreas Michailidis is not really something we have seen before, because Andreas Michailidis, I think he's a little bit underrated in a way, because he did take a round off Alex Bahia and the grappling when they had their fight in Alex Bahaya's debut. But Brian Battle, he does have pretty good wrestling, but he was taken down a few times in the Ultimate Fighter by Gilbert Urbina. I think there might have been a takedown by Trajan Gore in their matchup as well. Like I'm just seeing Brian Battle get taken down by guys but with better wrestling than sorry, not as good wrestling as Hanat. But what do you think about this fight?
Yeah, I mean, we have seen Trajan Gore take down Brian Battle, and pretty sure it was in the third round as well when he was tired. And Rinat is a good wrestler. He is kind of a, the level of opponents he's faced isn't too high, so that's the thing I'm kind of scared of. But Rinat is good. He has good power, kind of wild on the feet, but very good on the ground. And yeah, I feel like he should win this, not only because just he's a better fighter, but also, like you said, this is a short notice bout. So I feel like he should be able to get this done by decision.
Yeah, this is an interesting fight, man. Like it really is. I feel like a big step up for Brian Battle over Takashi Sato, who I think might not even be in the UFC anymore, and especially on short notice as well. But if Brian Battle can beat Hanat, that's a really good win to have on your record, especially on short notice as well. But I think Brian Battle's going to have to keep the fight on the feet, and Hanat, he's dangerous on the feet. He's not super technical, and I think he's going to be constantly shooting for takedowns, and I do think he's going to be getting them, considering the fact that he was able to take down Andreas Michailidis, who's a pretty good wrestler and grappler himself, 5 times. So I'm going with Fakrinidov by decision. A lot of people go with Battle. I really don't mind the Battle pick, but it's just the short notice nature of the fight and the fact that Fakrinidov was preparing for a somewhat similar opponent as well, which is why I like Hanat in this matchup. And the next one here, Maheshate versus Rafa Garcia. I'll let you start this one off if you want to talk about the fight.
Yeah, sure. This, in my opinion, is one of the hardest fights to predict because Maheshate, he's fought his last fight against Steve Garcia. He won the fight by first round KO in like 2 or 3 minutes. He was kind of getting held against the cage, but like he knocked him out right after. So, we don't have a lot of tape on the guy, and I feel like he's good. He has a lot of power, but we haven't really seen him extended. I'm pretty sure he has a decision on the Contender Series, but it's not the same level of opposition as Rafa Garcia is, because Rafa, he has a like big pace, and I feel like that could tire out Maheshate. But also, I feel like Maheshate might just be the better fighter with more power, the better striking as well. So I am going with him, but it is a hard fight to predict, in my opinion.
I find it very interesting that we've agreed on every fight so far, because I'm going with Maheshate as well. And I like this guy, man, but you're so right. There's very little tape on this guy. You can find some of his very early fights by searching up his, I believe it's the Mandarin translation there. But aside from that, you're probably going to get like 2 fights if you're lucky. Because I remember when I was researching this guy for Dana White's Contender Series, I was struggling to find any information on this guy whatsoever. And another very interesting part is when this guy fought on Dana White's Contender Series, Tapology actually had him listed as 5-1, and you can actually see the UFC's got him listed as 5-1. But the team that looks into the records of fighters that get signed into the UFC to see if they're legit or not found a couple more wins, which is why his record is so much better now. I guess you could say they added 2 more wins to it. But I like Maheshate in this matchup, man. I really do believe in this guy against the right matchups. I do think that he could have a lot of success at 155. But the thing about Rafa Garcia is this guy's dangerous, man. This guy fought Drakkar Klose. I think it was on short notice as well. And that was a very competitive fight. And Drakkar Klose, I believe at one point was the number 15 ranked lightweight. That number 15 ranking at lightweight keeps going up and down. Different people get it. But that's a really good performance from Rafa Garcia to have a close matchup with someone like him. He beat GC Ronson and Natan Levy, but and Natan Levy's looked pretty good since then. But I really do like Maheshate on the feet, and he got beaten up badly by this Maduro guy in the first round, and he really come back and looks really good in the second and third rounds. Looked really good in the striking, looked really good in the clinch, and yeah, same sort of thing with Garcia. He was getting held up against the cage and then just knocked him out. And I didn't knock him out like a little bit. He knocked him out stiff. It was actually quite brutal. And I don't know if he's going to get the knockout over Rafa Garcia because it's not really something that he has got too much in his career. Like in the past, he has taken guys with losing records the distance, but that is a few years ago. I'm going to be going with Mahashati by decision. I think he's going to try and defend the takedowns of Rafa Garcia because Rafa Garcia is a boxer wrestler. And I think if he's able to do that, we're going to see Mahashati, in my opinion, have a little bit more success on the feet and win a decision. So do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I wanted to add: Steve Garcia is a featherweight. They pretty sure they fought at 155, and Steve Garcia doesn't have a good chin, and he's a featherweight. So, yeah, that doesn't really speak good for Mahashati. Rafa Garcia is good; he's tough. So I am also going with a decision for Mahashati.
Yeah, that's the thing I forgot to mention as well is Steve Garcia got knocked down twice by Charlie Ontiveros. So yeah, Mahashati, I guess, kind of finished it off because Steve Garcia ended up coming back and winning that fight. But this next one here, I'm really looking forward to this matchup. This is a very high level fight at bantamweight, in my opinion. Saeed Nurmagomedov versus Saeed Yokub Kakramonov, and I'm going to be going with the underdog in Saeed Yokub Kakramonov. I really like this guy as a prospect, man. I really do believe in him, especially since he took that short notice fight against Trevin Jones. And then I can't actually remember if I picked him to beat Ronnie Lawrence, but he like out hustled Ronnie Lawrence in the wrestling and the grappling, which is not something we've ever seen anyone really do before. And Ronnie Lawrence is a really good wrestler, man. And Saeed Nurmagomedov, I feel like he's going to be a better striker that we have seen him taken down in the past. Douglas Silva de Andrade was able to take him down. He submitted Cody Stamen in like 40 seconds, which is a great win. I think Barcelos was even able to out grapple him and out wrestle him. So I'm siding with the underdog here inside Yokub Kakramonov. I really like this guy as a prospect. I like his wrestling and I like his grappling. So what do you think about this fight here?
Yeah, this I have to agree with you, man. But I feel like Said Jakub Kahramanov, he will be able to potentially dominate Said Nurmagomedov because the grappling on this guy is so good, man. Like Ronnie Lawrence, he is a good wrestler, but man, Said Jakub Kahramanov just dominated them over 3 rounds. He's so strong. The cardio is so good. He's so young as well. So, every time he's getting better. He's training with good guys like Terrence McKinney. And I feel like he will just maybe he'll lose the first round because Said is very explosive, very good with the kicks. So like maybe he loses the first round, but this second or third, I feel like he should dominate. I am going with a decision 30-26. That's what I'm going with. But I also could see a finish for Said Yakub. He is a big underdog at Topology at least, but I'm going with him.
That is true. Not many people picking him, But I think a lot of people are seeing that win over Stamen, man, because that was a really big name-making performance for Saeed when he got that submission so quickly. But Saeed Yokub, this guy fought really good competition on the regional scene as well. Like his two losses are to Umar and Magomedov, who we know is being labeled as a future champion. I personally believe that Umar is going to be a champion one day as well, and that was a very competitive fight. And that was when Saeed Yokub was 24 years old, like, and both Umar and him would have been young then. And then he lost to Pipe Vargas, but Pipe Vargas is another guy that I believe all of his losses are to guys in the UFC as well. Like, these fought really good competition. He defeated the undefeated Askar, fought Trevin Jones on short notice, and subbed him in a guillotine in a eye-opening performance because at that time Trevin Jones' stock was at a pretty big high. And then that Ronnie Lawrence win is so good in my opinion, especially the way that he beat Ronnie Lawrence with the wrestling and the grappling. I think he's going to do that against Saeed, but I like Saeed on the feet, but I think that Saeed Yokub is going to out hustle him on the ground. And Douglas Silva de Andrade did get a couple of takedowns, and I think that Saeed Yokub Kakramonov is going to be able to do the same thing. So give me Kakramonov to win a decision as well. I do agree. Now, Julian Marquez versus Ron Wynn. Do you have anything to say about this fight?
I mean, this is going to be violence, as I'm going to say. If you see a Julian Marquez fight, you know that this man is not almost never going to a decision. Like his last fight, he got knocked out bad. Like before that, Sam Alvey, that was very violent. Maki Pitolo, very good comeback win. This man, yeah, his nickname is the Cuban Missile Crisis, and for a reason. This guy just goes out there and tries to finish you, and Deron Wynn is a good, the dancing partner for him. He is a good wrestler, but when he does get the takedowns, he just goes at it, man. Like we saw against Phil Hawes. Unfortunately, he got dominated, but also like this man just goes forward. He never stops. So this is going to be a fun fight either way.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be fun, and that, in my opinion, I think if it goes the way I think it's gonna go, it's gonna be pretty tough to watch because I do see this as a Deron Wynn versus Phil Hawes 2.0 almost, man. Like I know Deron Wynn's got a really good chin on him, but at the same time, he's such a big guy in such a small frame. You know what I mean? Like this guy's 5'6", fighting Julian Marquez, who's 6'2", and Marquez hits hard. Like he's got power. Like he submitted Sam Alvey, which I guess a lot of people have done recently. But that Maki Pitolo win as well was a big comeback, as you said. But he's hitting guys hard. Like he doesn't really have a KO recently, but he's still throwing and he's still hitting really hard. But both guys took a lot of damage in their last fight. Julian Marquez got beaten up really badly by Rodriguez 5 months ago. Win got beaten up really badly by Phil Hawes a few months ago. So both guys trying to get back that win, man. But I really do think that Julian Marquez has the power on the feet to hurt Win, because I feel like Win is he is Daniel Cormier's protege, and you can kind of see it. He does try and fight in a similar way, but he's just not as good as Daniel Cormier. Like he doesn't have as good boxing as Daniel Cormier. He doesn't have the size of Daniel Cormier, and I just think Marquez, if he's able to defend the takedowns, because it's the only way that Win wins, in my opinion, he has to use the wrestling. If Marquez can keep the fight on the feet, I really think he's going to be beaten up on Duran. So give me Marquez by KO. I'm going to go with the second round KO. And man, if it's anything like the Phil Hawes fight, it could be pretty hard to watch. I just think that Win is just too undersized for this weight class. Like I know he is a big guy, but he's a big guy in such a small frame, and I just don't know how I feel about it at 185.
Yeah, but I see that like people, only 8% of the people are picking Deron Win. I feel like that's a bit low because Julian Marquez, like I said, comeback win against Maki Pitolo where he got out wrestled. Maki
Mm.
Pitolo isn't known for his wrestling. He isn't a good wrestler whatsoever. Well, Deron Win, he's a pretty good wrestler. Now I don't know if Marquez has fixed that hole in his game, but I feel like 8% is a bit too low. I'd go 80-20 in my opinion, because Darren, when he has good wrestling, he could just control him. He has got a win over Antonio Arroyo, uh, also a UFC win by just grappling, man. So I could see a path to victory there, but I feel like Marquez is going to win.
This is really part of the victory that I just think Marquez is that power, man, and Win's tough guy. He's got a good chin, but I think we're going to see Marquez win this one here. Now we move on to Jake Matthews taking on Matt Simmelsberger. I've got Jake Matthews in this matchup, man. And, I feel like in a way, man, I feel like it's definitely not a step back in competition, but I feel like it's not a big step forward in competition because Jake Matthews come out after taking a long time off, over a year off, and he looked so good on the feet against Andre Fialho, man. Like he was saying that he was working on his boxing and his striking before that fight, and he outstruck Andre Fialho. Now, in hindsight, Andre Fialho just lost to Muslim Salikov, but Muslim Salikov's pretty good himself. But Fialho is such a good. I think Fialho is a great boxer. You know, this guy took the fight against Mikhail Paheyo, I believe, on 5 days' notice, and took a round off him in the first round with just his boxing, with only boxing. So, for Jake Matthews to outstrike Andre Fialho and finish him the way that he did, I like to see that. And then he's taking on Matt Simmelsberger, who just lost to Alex Morono in a war, and it was only 4 months ago. And Matt Simmelsberger, going into that third round, his eye was completely closed up, and he took a lot of damage, and he's making a pretty quick comeback around here, or turnaround, sorry. But what I like about Simmelsberger, he does have power on the feet, and he does have pretty good wrestling. But I think that Matthews has got him covered everywhere, man. Matthews' new developed striking is so good, and Matthews' grappling is so good as well. That's what he's known for, is his grappling. We didn't even see that against Andre Fialho. So yeah, he got out grappled by Sean Brady almost 2 years ago, but he's come back and he looks so good. He's only 28 years old. I think Matthews is going to win this one by late finish. I'm going to go with like a third round submission over Matt Simmelsberger after winning the first 2 rounds. But what do you think about this matchup here?
Yeah, I'm going with Matthews as well. I feel like he is the better boxer, the better grappler as well. Matt Simmonsberger is good though. Like you said, close fight against Alex Morono. I felt like he won that fight, but it's whatever. It was a close fight. Alex Morono, like fringe top 15, maybe top 20 guy. So Matt is a good opponent for Jack Matthews. It isn't really a step up, but also not a step down. I feel like Jake Matthews, he had a long layoff. Just give him some tune-up fights. Yeah, I'm going with Jake Matthews. I am not going with a KO. I'm going with a decision because Matt Samsberger he is tough and he is like all right everywhere. So I don't see him getting finished here.
Yeah, I think Matthews is going to win and not like take too much damage. So hopefully he can make a return for that UFC 284 card in Perth in Australia. So hopefully Matthews doesn't take too much damage in this fight, and we can see him make a big return, and a big return in Perth at UFC 284.
Yeah,
Now this next matchup here is
that would be good.
So the next matchup is Cheyenne Velismus versus Corey McKenna. And originally I was on Cheyenne Velismus, but I'm gonna be going with Corey McKenna because I rewatched Cheyenne Velismus's UFC debut, and oh man, I just feel like I know it was 2 years ago, and I'm sure she's made developments, but I've just seen a lot of a lack of wrestling in her game, and that's what Corey McKenna does. Corey McKenna's a wrestler and a grappler, and I've been critical of Corey McKenna in the past. Like I think I wasn't too happy with her fight against Elise Reed, but I did still pick her to beat Miranda Granger, and I know that was Miranda Granger's first fight in a very long time, but she looked so good in that matchup, man. She really beat up on Miranda Granger and finished her in the second round. But Velismus, in my opinion, on the feet, I think Velismus has the advantage on the feet, and as long as the fight is on the feet, Velismus is going to be winning. But I'm going to be trusting that Corey McKenna is going to be looking for those takedowns and looking to use that grappling. And I think she's going to beat Shane Velismus by decision using her wrestling and grappling, because I just don't like what Monster Ruiz was able to do to Shane Velismus. Like she put Shane Velismus in like I don't really know what you would call it, but like a hold, and she was like beating her up. Like she kind of had her head in here, and she was beating her up that way, and then she was taking her down as well. And I know she knocked out Gloria DePaula, but that one unfortunately hasn't aged that well. And the winner of Mallory Martin is pretty good, but it's about a year ago. So I'm interested to hear what you have on this one.
Yeah, pretty sure Ruiz had her in like a headlock, like Big Brother to basically. It was bad.
Yeah, that's what I was
Not
getting
a
at.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bad fight to watch. That was like 2 years ago. Yeah, almost 3 years ago. But yeah, also Corey McKenna, man, she hasn't shown to be really high level as well. She has lost to Elise Reed because of low fight IQ. She beat Miranda Granger, von Fluchoke. It's pretty good, but Granger, not UC level in my opinion. I feel like Shan Vlismas is a bit higher up in the division. She has 2 wins, like against Gloria De Paula and Mallory Martin. Like you said, the Martin win is pretty good. So I guess this is the first fight we are disagreeing. I'm going with Vlismas here, formerly known as Base, but whatever. I'm going with Vlismas here by decision.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think as long as the fight is on the feet, it's definitely gonna be Velismus's world. Like, I mean, Corey McKenna lost to Elise Reed, who we know Elise Reed is like a black belt in Taekwondo, I believe, and I believe she's also got accolades in karate. But Elise Reed's a pretty good fighter. She has actually come back and had a couple of wins since that fight. But yeah, I'm going with McKenna. It's a tough fight. McKenna's actually the favorite on Tapology, which is interesting. But yeah, as you mentioned, Cheyenne Velismus, she has changed her surname, I believe, since her last fight. But that's obviously something else. But we move on. So Cody Brundage versus Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, and I'm going to let you talk about this one because I'm interested to hear what you have to say, because I personally think that the line is a little bit wrong. But let me know what you think.
Yeah, the line is definitely wrong. And minus 275 for Michal Oleksiejczuk is a bit steep in my opinion. He is coming down from 205 to 185, but like his only win at 185 is Sam Alvey. I know it was impressive. It was good. It was entertaining to watch. But man, Cody Brundage, he is in the bump. Like he is a guy that beat Trajan Gore and Dachalu Jambula. Man, he lost in this UFC debut against Nick Maximov because he came on short notice. He's a good wrestler. He's strong. He's pretty big as well. I feel like this fight is much closer than the odds suggest. I am going with Michal Olejniczak because I feel like he was just the fights he was losing. They were close against just Dustin Jacoby, against Jimmy Crute wasn't, but he was just very small for 205, and I feel like at 185, where he's just as big as the other guys, I feel like he should have much more success. He's a good striker, very aggressive. So if he wins, I'm going with a KO, TKO. Cody Brundage, he seems to, cover up sometimes, and I feel like that's a bad idea against Michal Olejniczak. So I am going with Olejniczak by TKO in the second round.
Yeah, this is a short notice fight as well. Cody Brundage taking on Mikhail, and Mikhail, once again, like it's one of those situations where someone's fighting on short notice and you can make comparisons to the new opponent as to the old one, because Albert Duraev was meant to be Mikhail's opponent. I believe Albert Duraev would have been shooting for downs and using his wrestling, and I think that's what Cody Brundage is going to try and do in this matchup. Honestly, I was so tempted to pick Cody Brundage, like I really was, because we have seen Mikhail taken down in the past, and the thing about Mikhail is all this guy really is a boxer. He doesn't throw kicks, he just boxes. And I was thinking, man, like maybe if Cody Brundage can get Mikhail down, we can see him work his grappling, work his wrestling for a submission. But the thing about Mikhail is he has lost a couple of times by submission, twice in a row against Jimmy Crute, who just beaten him up, and then he made a mistake against OSP, which led to that loss. But the thing about I think my computer's lagging out now. There we go. But I think the thing about Mikhail was, yeah, as you said, he was so undersized for 205, because I was watching his fight against Shamil Gamzatov just before we started this video, actually, and Shamil was so much bigger than him, and a lot of people do refer that as a very good win for Shamil, but personally, I think it was more just kind of him exposing Shamil's striking, because Shamil looked really bad on the feet in that fight, in my opinion, and he gassed out like 2 minutes into the fight. Like I was really surprised when that happened, because I thought Shamil was going to win the fight. He's 14-0 prospect. Obviously, everyone's super hyped up. And then when he gassed out in front of Mikhail only 2 minutes into the fight, I was really wondering what was going on. And needless to Jacoby in a close fight, to be fair. And then he moved down to 185. And as you said, he beat up Sam Alvey. It was entertaining. But the thing is, like, he just fought Sam Alvey as someone that, like, he gave Sam Alvey no respect whatsoever. Like, he fought Sam Alvey as someone like, I know I can finish this guy if I run out and try to finish him. I think he's going to find a smarter game plan against Brundage. He's going to have to defend takedowns for sure, but he would have been preparing that against Duraev. I think Brundage as well. Like I was thinking about picking Brundage. I really was, because I like his wrestling and grappling, but he was getting beaten up by Dolce Wambula, man. And if Dolce Wambula, they would have landed big shots on you. And even Tresean Gore as well, before the finish, was landing a couple of good shots on him as well. Mikhail Olejniczak's going to do the same. I think he's going to get a knockout in this one here. I don't know if it's going to be the first round, but I think like maybe in the second round. But yeah, Brundage, he has taken fights on short notice in the past, and he didn't look bad against Nick Maximov at all. But I do think Mikhail is gonna win this one by knockout. So we agree on that matchup there. And now we move up to the next one. You got Drew Dober taking on Bobby Green, and this is a good fight, man. I'm really looking forward to this one, and I'm going to be going with Drew Dober. I'm not that confident in the pick, because I think there's a very good chance Bobby Green wins the fight, considering the fact how good he looked against Rafael Fiziev a year and a bit ago. Like that fight was contested on the feet for the most part, and Bobby Green was throwing a lot of volume. He threw a lot more volume in the third round than Fiziev. He definitely won the third round, and the second round was pretty competitive as well. And we know how good Fiziev is at striking, and then he come back and he knocked out Ali Quinta, and Ali Quinta's like returned from retirement fight, and then he beat Nasrat Haqparast. And then he took on the short notice against Islam Makhachev and got ground and pounded out like a lot of strikers do when they fight Islam Makhachev on short notice. But Drew Dober, I like this guy's power. I like this guy's wrestling. Earlier on in his career, he was using a wrestling a lot. We haven't really seen it now. He just likes to strike and throw bombs and get in exciting fights. This is why this fight really should be in front of a crowd. I really wish it was, because Drew Dober plays into the crowd, and so does Bobby Green. I mean, did knock out Terrence McKinney after a big comeback. You know, we know that Drew Dober is never going to get KO'd again if he didn't get knocked out by McKinney in that fight. And then he knocked out Alves as well. I'm going with Dober, man. I just like the well-rounded game plan that I think that he's going to bring. I think he's going to crash forward on Bobby Green and look to use the wrestling as well as his boxing and kickboxing. So yeah, let me know what you think about this one.
I am going with Bobby Green here. He is underdog, so I do like that. Maybe I'll even bet on it, but it's a close fight either way. I feel like Bobby Green, he has the better boxing. He is very fast. He has a very fast jab, and he doesn't really throw hooks. He just shuts down the middle or his thing. And Drew Dober, he's more of a all around guy, kickbox heavy, good wrestler like you said. But I feel like the wrestling isn't good enough to control and take down Bobby Green. Yeah, I feel like they'll just strike because, like you said, Drew Dober, he likes to make it entertaining for the crowd. He doesn't really go for the takedowns, not anymore at least. He got cracked against Terrence McKinney. He got cracked again, like badly against Terrence McKinney. Like he got cracked against Brad Riddell as well. Bobby Green doesn't have that power, so I don't see him cracking him. I am going with a decision, but it will be a close one. I feel like it might even be a split decision. Bobby Green just landing more volume, while Drew Dober, hard leg kicks, hard hooks, hard, kicks to the body, that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Green probably will be landing the more volume for sure, and I think I think Drober when he throws, he likes getting close, and he does like to land super powerful shots. But I like Dober in the matchup. It's not the most confident pick. I don't mind the Green pick whatsoever. I mean, the fight against Fiziev is like a really good look for him, even though he lost the fight. It was a super close fight, and some people, not a lot of people, but some people, if even made an argument that he won. But yeah, I'm going with Dober. I'm actually surprised that 68% of people picking the Dober. I'm not too sure why everyone's fading Bobby Green. I think this would have been like a 55-45 Topology vote split, but that's interesting. But yeah, I'm going with Dober. Slight favorite, but I think the winner as well. Would it be fair to say that the winner of this fight is especially if it's Dober, is likely to call out Paddy Pimblett? Or
I mean, I hope so, but I don't see it happening. I feel like after his last performance, they'll give him a guy that just came into the UFC. Man, Paddy hasn't looked good, and a fight
no,
against Dober would not be smart from the UFC.
no, no. I think if Dover wins, I think he would call out Paddy Pimblett. I think a lot of people would talk about it. I don't think he'd get it though. I think they're gonna match up. Honestly, I think they're gonna give Paddy a step down in competition, man. I think they're gonna give him Claudio Puelles is what I think is gonna happen. But
Yeah, that
um,
would be a good one.
yeah, I mean, like the thing is, it would be a very winnable fight for Paddy, but I think it's logical because Puelles just fought for a ranked opponent against ranked opponent Dan Hooker. So I guess you could almost argue it as a step up in the rankings, but yeah, if we move on, man, we've got Alex Caceres taking on Julian Erosa. And I'm going with Julian Rosa in this one here. I do like Alex Caceres, and I'm actually really happy that he went on such a good win streak. And he even had a pretty competitive fight with Sadiq Yusuf as well when he was fighting for the rankings. But I think that Julian Rosa is going to beat him, man. I feel like if you've got to beat Julian Rosa, you've got to finish him because this guy's a minute winner. He throws a lot of volume, and if he needs to, he can use some grappling as well himself. But he's going to be the bigger guy in this matchup as well, which is something that usually happens. He is 6'1" for 145, but he throws a lot of volume. He does have pretty good power in the hands, and he just beat Hakeem Dawodu, which is a great win. The close fight with Stephen Peterson is a bit iffy, in my opinion, but he beat Charles Jourdain, who's a hot prospect right now, or a guy that a lot of people are talking about at least. He did lose to Sung Woo Choi, but he beat Nate Landwehr as well. And Nate Landwehr's got on a little win streak since then too. But Caceres, he just went on a 5-fight win streak, really turned his career around. Like this guy's been in the UFC, I want to say since like 2013. Like he's been in the UFC for a long time. Yeah, he's been in the UFC since 2010 when he was on the Ultimate Fighter, and he's got a really good win. He is actually the one that beat Sergio Pettis for the first time, and Pettis is now a champion, but in Bellator, I believe. But yeah, what do you think about the fight?
I agree with the pick here. I'm definitely going with Julian Erosa, Juicy J. Like you said, you have to really finish this guy to stop him, to win against him. Sang Hoo Choi finished him. He almost finished Alex Caceres, but he threw that illegal knee. So, Alex has a win over him, but still kind of shaky. Rosa is the better striker in my opinion. he is a good wrestler and grappler as well. So and so is Xer, so that kind of cancels out. And the striking, I feel like Julian is just a little better. Harder shots. I feel like he's more dangerous. He's more reckless. He throws more volume. Caceres is dangerous too, though. Like Rosa, he does get clipped here and there. Against Steven Peterson, he got hurt a few times. Like it's so weird. This guy's so weird. Like a split decision against Steven Peterson, and then
Mm.
kind of dominates Hakeem Dawodu. So I don't know. This guy makes no sense. So I could see Caceres just clipping him and KOing him, but Rosa, I got him by. I don't know. Caceres is tough, so I'm going with the decision. Rosa by decision here.
Yeah, I've got a Rosa decision as well. I think he's going to beat Alex Caceres on the feet, and that's ultimately what's going to lead to his win. But yeah, as you said, like that's a big change. Stephen Peterson split decision win, and Stephen Peterson went to a split decision with Chase Hooper, I believe, which is unfortunately not aged that well considering how good Steve Garcia looked against Chase Hooper. That was a crazy fight, but yeah, I've got a Rosa by decision as well. I feel like Caceres, like maybe he can get it done. Like he's got it done as an underdog before, many times in his career, but I think this is a winnable fight for Julian Erosa. It's going to move him up the rankings. I don't know if it's going to get him a top 15 opportunity. I mean, I think it might, considering Alex Caceres just fought for a ranked opponent in Sadiq Youssef. So maybe if Erosa wins this one, he fights whoever's ranked number 14 or 15 in the featherweight rankings. But Emir Albazi versus Alessandro Costa. I honestly am actually a big fan of this fight. I do think Emir Albazi is going to win. And I'm going to say it now. I don't think Emir Albazi is going to win by first round submission. But Alessandro Costa is dangerous. Like he is a guy that's taking the fight on short notice. He is a guy that was on Dana White's Contender Series and looked pretty good. But he wasn't given a contract. It was a close fight against Andres Luna Martinetti, who's 12-0, but the record's pretty padded, to be fair. But he came back against a 6-3 opponent and knocked him out in 12 seconds. And like I like Alessandro Costa as a prospect at 125. I do wish that he did get signed. And as soon as he won that fight in 12 seconds, I was like, this guy's definitely getting signed now for sure. But I didn't expect it to be against Amir Albazi. I thought they were just going to give him a contract and work him up from the bottom. But he's really been thrown in the deep end here. I believe Amir Albazi right now is top 10. He took a bit of time off, come back against Francisco Figueiredo and dominated him. But to be fair, Francisco Figueiredo isn't the best opponent in the world at all. But I think Emir Albazi is going to win one by first round submission. I think he's a really good prospect to look out for. I do like Alessandro Costa as a fighter, but I just don't think this is just a different level, man. Emir Albazi is a top 10 ranked guy in the UFC, and Alessandro Costa is a guy that just won on Dana White's Contender Series and didn't get signed. You know what I mean? So it's just a different level. But I think if Costa can make it competitive, it could be a very big name value increase in fight. But what do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, I just before making this video, I looked back at the fight of Costa versus Luna, like on the Contender Series, and I was not impressed. Not on the striking, and definitely not on the grappling. Costa knocked down his opponent in the second round. He almost had his back, got the top control and just got reversed, like almost like it was nothing. I feel like Amir Abazi is, if he's in that position, it's going to be easy work for him. Amir, he has a few submission wins in the first round. I feel like this will be another one. Yeah, just going for the takedown, taking his back, and putting on a rear naked choke in the first round.
Yeah, I think it's just I agree. I think it's just a difference in levels, man. Like we're talking a top 10 UFC guy, and Amir Albazi, and although he hasn't really fought any ranked opponents, Malcolm Gordon, Zalgas, and Figueiredo, but a lot of really good matchups have fallen out for him. Like he was meant to fight Alex Perez, which would have been a great fight, and then Brandon Royval would have been a great fight as well. So every time Amir Albazi gets like a big opportunity, it seems like either him or his opponent end up falling out. So it's a bit of an unfortunate situation for that. But I think he's going to beat Alessandro Costa in the first round. I mean, the thing is, I do like Costa. I think he is going to bounce back from this, and I think he will beat a lot of guys at the very bottom of 125. It'll be interesting to see how he develops at only 26 years old. But there's just a level, there's just a difference in levels here right now, man. It's like as I said, a top 10 opponent in the UFC versus Dana White's Contender Series guy, and Albazi's live for a submission in the first round against almost anyone. So I think he's going to get it done and get done pretty quickly. So I like the fight though, I really do. Nimi Albazi is an exciting prospect. It's just a shame that so many fights that fall out for him. And did you want to talk about Mansarukian versus Demir Ismagulov first?
Oh yeah, definitely. Let me get on this. Arman
Yeah,
Sorgan
yeah,
versus
it's such a
Damir
good fight.
Ismagulov. This is my favorite fight of the night. 100%, man. These guys should be the main event. This I want to see these guys fight 5 rounds. They are so good, so technical, so fast. Not the most powerful, but man, that doesn't even matter. These guys are so good. Like Arman, very good wrestling, good striking. I feel like Damir is the better striker here, definitely better striker. But Arman's a better wrestler. The one thing I don't like about Arman is he always throws those head kicks. I have no idea why. Like they never land, not in the UFC at least. Maybe he does it to get the opponent's hands up and just go for the takedown. But I don't know. It's kind of weird. It never lands. It's just a lot of power, a lot of you know I don't know. It kind of doesn't work for him, but he's so good. Like he has power in his hands. He is fast. He is a great wrestler, and I feel like he should win this fight by wrestling Damir Ismagulov. This will be close though. This will be a split decision or just a unanimous decision, 29-28, because Damir is very good on the ground as well. He is a hard guy to take down, but I feel like the fight IQ on this man isn't the best because he is striking with guys he should just be taking down. Against Guram Kutateladze, I don't know where you're striking with that guy because he's amazing. Rafael Alves, I'm pretty sure he was striking in the beginning and he got knocked down there as well. Tiago Moises, I am not sure if if he was striking there, but he should because Moises is a good BJJ guy. But I feel like Arman just, although he's younger, he's fighting like a guy who has more experience, guy that is the better wrestler and that will get the win for him out, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is such a good fight. And who do you think won that last fight as well? The Gamrot versus Sarukian fight. Who do you think won
Uh,
that?
Arman definitely won that. I feel like there
Yeah.
is more of a case for Arman to win 49-46 than for Gamrot winning 48-47.
Well, I think what happened in that fight then is the judges didn't see that knockdown that he scored. They didn't realize it was a knockdown. And I think they gave Gamrot that round. I think it was the fourth round it was in.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, anyway, that was crazy. It was such a good fight, though. It was a good fight. It's just it leaves a sour taste, doesn't it, when you feel like the
Yeah,
wrong
it
person
does.
won. But I've got Arman Sarukian myself as well. I like the grappling, I like the wrestling. I like Demir. I've vouched for this guy a lot. I've followed him like not for a super long time. Like I've only followed him for about a year. But when when he fought Guram Kutaladze, so many people were picking Guram Kutaladze, and it was a very competitive fight. It could have gone either way, to be 100% honest. But I picked Demir, and some people didn't like that, man. But like I just believe in Demir so much. But I am going to be picking Arman Sarukian. They do have very similar opponents. He fought Yoel Alvarez. Arman Sarukian also fought Yoel Alvarez. And that's just a great opponent that both of them have fought, Whereas Yoel Alvarez is such a great guy at 155. He's massive. He's like 6'2" or 6'3" for 155. But yeah, so I like the wrestling. I like the grappling of Sarukian. I do agree that on the feet it is gonna be Ismagulov's world, I guess you could say. Not that Arman Sarukian's a bad striker because he's actually a very good striker. But yeah, Demir, he's a great striker. I think that he's definitely even if he loses this one, I think he's definitely going to be able to beat other ranked guys in the UFC. So I don't think if either guys lose, I don't think he'll be a step back. But I wish Sarukian wins because he's 26 years old. And in my opinion, out of all of the ranked guys, I feel like it's Arman Sarukian that probably has the style to beat Islam Makhachev. But I don't really see anyone else because I personally thought that Charles Oliveira was going to be that guy that had the style to beat someone like Islam Makhachev, but I think it's going to have to be someone else that's got a similar style like Arman Sarukian. He fought Islam Makhachev on short notice when he's like 21 years old, and it was a competitive fight, man, like it really was. And 22 years old, sorry, but I think that rematch is something that we're all looking forward to and hoping takes place sometime in the next couple of years. But Ismagulov as well, my problems with him is he's not that active. Like his last time he fought 5 months ago, but before that, he took a year off. He took a year and a half off before that. And before that, he was a lot more active. But Yeah, I like Saruki in the wrestling and grappling, man. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be a lot of scrambles, but I think Saruki's going to end up being stronger on the ground, and I think he's going to end up on top and just in the more dangerous positions. And I think as like even when he was beating Yoel Alvarez, he ground and pounded him out. Looked really good. I think he's going to be throwing ground and pounds against Demir, and even on the feet as well. I think it's going to be competitive, but I think Sarukian will be working the wrestling and takedown. So, do you have anything else to add to this fight or no?
Yeah, one thing I forgot to add is again Damir against Guram Kutateladze. He kind of got robbed, in my opinion. In the third round, Herb Dean stood him up. Like for some reason, pretty sure it was like an eye poke or something. He didn't give back the position to Guram, and for that reason, Damir won the fight. But it was very close either way. Also, Arman versus Islam was very close, like you said, very competitive. And Arman just kept shooting for the takedowns, and that's the reason he lost. So if he, against Islam, if he just stays standing, I feel like he has a bigger chance to beat him.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I just feel like I feel like maybe Dariush as well would have a good style to beat someone like Islam Makhachev. But the thing about Islam, I think he's going to be champion for a very long time. And but he does have a couple of tough matchups coming up, man. Arman Sarukin's one of them. Arman Sarukin's got to earn that shot, and I think beating Demetrius Magulov is going to be a very good step in the right direction. But yeah, I'm interested to see what happens at the top of the 155 pound division. But yeah, I've got Sarukin as well. Now we move on to the main event. Not gonna lie, man, this is a fight I'm not confident about, and I don't like being not confident about main events because I feel like when you watch a prediction video, you're waiting for the main event prediction because it's most of the time the biggest fight on the card, the fight that all of the fights of the card's been made around. But I just don't know, like I really don't because I feel like it's gonna be a stand up fight. I don't see Strickland using his wrestling because I've trusted him to do that before and he didn't, and I don't know if I can trust him to do it again. And Jared Cannonier does have power on the hands. We saw him knock out Derek Brunson and defended a lot of takedowns and defended a lot of grappling exchanges in that fight. And he did lose to Israel Adesanya, where he kind of just froze and Adesanya pieced him apart from distance. But I'm going with Jared Cannonier, man. Like it's a tough one though because I really do feel like Strickland has the tools to win the matchup. That I just don't feel like he's going to use any offensive grappling. I can't trust that because I feel like he's going to have to because I feel like Cannonier, the way that Strickland strikes, he is very hittable. It wasn't just Alex Bahia that exposed that. Like even someone like Jack Hermanson, who we wouldn't describe as a striker at all, was looking pretty good on the feet against him. He did beat Uriah Hall, but that was not the most exciting stand-up fight I've ever seen. But yeah, I'm going with Cannonier. I'm interested to see what you have to say. Hopefully, you're a little bit more confident in this fight than me.
I'm not really confident, but I am also going with Jared Cannonier. I feel like he's the better striker, all around. He has hard kicks, he has hard shots. He is a guy who throws jabs, but also throws hooks. So, Sean Strickland, he is good at blocking the shots that are coming. Like to his face, he like kind of stands like this and he blocks like this. And I feel like Pereira,
Yeah.
he showed that if you throw looping shots, he kind of gets exposed there. And I feel like Jared is smart enough to use those shots as well. Also, he's a good defensive wrestler, so I don't think that Sean Strickland would have a lot of success there. He is like old; he's almost 39 years of age, but I feel like he's still good. He is still getting better, in my opinion. He had a really close fight again, not close, but kind of competitive against Adesanya, and I feel like he should just get this one done, man. I'm going with a TKO. Again in the fourth round. I'm going with the fourth round TKO after Jared throws a lot of leg kicks that hurts Sean, and then he won't be able to move a lot, and then Jared comes in with a left hook and knocks him out.
Yeah, I feel like with Cannonier in that fight against Adesanya, is he made the mistake that a lot of people do when they fight Adesanya, is that he fought Adesanya's fight. He tried to kickbox with him from range, and Adesanya is one of the better strikers in MMA right now, and just trying to fight, especially, and he's quite tall as well. I think he's listed at 6'4", but he's shorter than Ngannou, who's also listed at 6'4", so he's like 6'3". But he's also quite rangy as well. He's got a good reach, and I feel like someone like Cannonier is 5'11", with a shorter reach than Adesanya. I think trying to kickboxer with him wasn't the best game plan. Like maybe Cannonier. I don't know, man. It just wasn't the best matchup for Cannonier, in my opinion. I think Adesanya just had a very good stylistic matchup over him. But I think in this one here with Sean Strickland, as you said, he does kind of have that iCarly stance. If you've seen the memes that yeah, he keeps his hands very high, Strickland. But if someone does try and take him down, he's got really good defensive grappling and really good takedown defense as well. So that's one thing you can like about Strickland. But the thing about Strickland is like it's weird for me to explain. Like I feel like I've never got a good read on this guy like in his whole career. Like I feel like I picked him to beat Alex Pereira because I thought he was going to wrestle him, and he just kind of stood there and waited to get KO'd. Because that's honestly how I would describe his fight against Pereira. He stood upright with his hands high and just waited to get KO'd. Like I don't really know how else to explain it. And I mean, I've picked him to beat Uriah Hall and Jotko, but I just feel like personally, I've just got such a bad read on Sean Strickland. Like I don't really understand like what he does aside from having really good defensive wrestling and having pretty good boxing. But at the same time, he's just a guy I don't really understand his style. Just someone that personally I can't get a good read on. And Jared Cannonier, he's a power puncher. He can go for takedowns if he really wants to, but for the most part, he is trying to get that one shot KO when he does have really good KOs. Like he's got the cool KO over Derek Brunson, which was awesome. He knocked out Jake Manson and only a few seconds into the second round. And he's got a couple of other crazy KOs like heavyweight and light heavyweight over Cyril Asker is one that they play a lot because it's interesting because he was heavyweight and then yeah, man, it's just it's a weird fight in my opinion. Like it's just something that as I said, I personally have a bad read on Short Strickland. But do you have anything to say about the main event before we wrap it up? Or
Yeah, I agree that Sean has a weird style. I have a hard read on him as well, but this is a good main event. I feel like Jared is always exciting. He's always going for the finish. He has big power because he also knocked down Kevin Gastelum, which almost never happens. So this is going to be exciting main event. Both guys are good. They're strikers. This is going to be a striking fight. So don't miss this one.
yeah, it should be a good fight. I think Cannonier, I'm picking him by KO as well. But yeah, as you said, interesting fight. And I wonder what the winner's gonna get. I feel like the winner's gonna fight Marvin Vettori. I think that might be the next matchup because I know Marvin Vettori doesn't have a matchup, and he's very highly ranked. And you could say maybe the winner fights Robert Whittaker, but if it's the winner's Jared Cannonier, he's just fought Robert Whittaker only a couple of years ago, and I don't know, man. The middleweight division at the top is a bit interesting considering Israel Adesanya and Rob Whittaker have both beaten all the good prospects really. So there's a lot of rematches that may need to happen. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the fight. I think the winner probably does fight Vettori. To be fair, I don't think either of these two has fought Vettori. I think there's a fight that makes sense. Maybe even the loser of Whittaker Costa, but then they're gonna have to wait around for a long time. So yeah. So that's my predictions. I think we agreed on almost every fight, except for Bobby Green and Drew Dover and Shane Velismus versus Corey McKenna. But aside from that, we've all got the same picks. And I think this should be a great night of fights. Like I am really looking forward to it. And it's going to be very interesting to see like a few prospect fights on this one here. Jake Matthews is a guy I'm looking forward to seeing. Kak Ramonov is a guy I'm looking forward to seeing. Mahashati is a guy I do get excited to watch. And even Manel Carpenter and Renat Fakhrenadov, as well as Brian Battle as well, are going to be all cool to watch, as well as obviously the main card as well. But that was just like mainly the prelim guys. I was going to rattle off there. But do you have anything to talk about the card before I end the video or no?
No, yeah, I agree. A lot of prospects here. This is a great card, like from start to finish, amazing fights. Kind of Russian heavy, which I do like. Many guys like Morozov, Rignat Fakhrinov, Said Yakub, they all speak Russian, so that's what I mean with that. But yeah, good fights. I am very excited. This is the last card of the year, but maybe the best fight night of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah, man. If it's yeah. I mean, like, there's been some great fight nights of the year, and I feel like maybe we've got to wait for the card to wrap up so we can make a comparison to that first UFC London card, because I think it was that first UFC London card, which I think has been regarded as the best fight night of the year. But on paper, this is definitely the best fight night card to be on the Apex. And honestly, I'm so surprised this isn't in front of a crowd. Like, it's such a crime, dude. Like, you've got really exciting fighters on here, really exciting fights, and they're not in front of a crowd. Like, we just know that Caceres Arosa is going to be a fight of the night type fight. Dober Bobby Green's going to be fight of the night type fight. If Sarukian and Ismagulov is a high price fight, that's going to be high fight of the night type fight. Like, these are all matchups. Karp versus Dvorak even as well. Like, it should just be in front of a crowd, and I feel like it's a crime that we're getting it in the Apex. But I guess it is what it is, man.
Yeah.
But no, I think I'll end the video there. So thank you very much for coming on the show. Were you saying something? I'll just cut you off.
Nah, that's fine, bro. I just want to say I agree with you 100%. It is a crime that this is in the UFC Apex, but it is what this. I'm pretty sure next year we have no more Apex fights cards, so I am happy with that.
Yeah, no, I love watching events in an arena for a couple of reasons. I do like it when fighters fight in front of a crowd, and secondly, it does just make the cards better because the UFC has to sell out an arena. They don't just have to sell like 200 tickets at the UFC Apex. You know what I mean? So yeah, all right, I'll leave it at that. I'll end the video. So thanks everyone for watching the video, and hopefully check out Stand 'Em Up channel and his Instagram page as well. And he's pretty active on YouTube and Instagram. He's trying to build up both. And I believe as your what language do you normally post your YouTube videos in?
I do both English and Dutch, like interviews and
Both
stuff.
English
I do
and
in
Dutch.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So if you can speak Dutch or if you can speak English as well, check out Stand 'Em Up's Stand 'Em Up channel. So thank you very much for coming onto our channel.
Yes, thanks, bro.